We can't hear you if you're talking to us, Sheri.
My microphone on. Hey, everybody.
I,
I am trying to go in. Okay, there we go. So we got a few people joining us, but if y'all make me turn my video camera on, y'all got to turn your camera on. I have to see faces to participate. They like, Ooh, okay, go back. Close. There we go. Hey. So
hey, Sheri.
Jennifer and May, why can't I see your faces? Why
Can you see
come?
me, Sheri?
I see you, Darlene. Hey, bro, I haven't seen you in a while. How you doing?
I'm
I'll
well.
turn it on as soon as I can, Sheri.
I'm hanging in
You
there.
don't want to see
I'm
me
in the car.
You putting your face on, May? And Jennifer, are you there?
here.
I said I'm gonna turn my video on as soon as I can.
Okay. I'm in mine. Okay. Okay, so we have, they're telling me I've got a 40-minute time limit on here, but I think I can get accomplished what we need to get accomplished. Okay, so we're gonna talk about lead generating. Ladies, I usually ask questions at the end of the class, but I'm gonna ask you some in the beginning. What questions do you all have for me at the moment?
Well, I count on you to give us some tips, or me some tips, get those listings during these times. You know what you're saying to folks. I had something going on, and then she had a medical emergency with her mom and even herself. So I was excited about that. You know, and that started, I guess, in June.
Okay.
And dealing with mostly buyers with interest in looking and so forth, but you know, I haven't closed anything in a while. First of all, I mean, I've been through a lot of stuff, so I haven't been hustling, you know, so to speak. I had my kids here and they were very paranoid about me going out, so I kind of took it easy. Now I need to kind of reboost, you know, and get back, you know.
Okay.
Get back on this road.
So what about you, Jennifer or Deirdre? What challenges are you ladies facing at the moment?
I'm facing really time management, and that's what I'm here for. Because once I start to, I'm doing circle prospecting and FISBOs, and once I start, it's not like it takes me all day, and I'm on a dollar. I can't hear you. You're on mute, Sheri.
Yeah, you're muted again. Sometimes it goes in and out, but you move off now. It's back on mute again. Something's going on
We
with
can't hear
thing.
anything.
Okay, how about now? I'm not
yeah.
even touching it. Okay, I'm gonna move my hands away from the daggone. Okay, so time management. What about you, Jennifer?
As far as lead generation, I think the biggest thing for me is actually figuring out which way I need to lead generate. I mean, I know as far as calling my sphere, which is not a lot. So meeting those people, and then, you know, following up with them, that kind of thing is pretty much the biggest thing. I've been doing some door knocking, but it just feels real brutal. Like I'm not
Let me ask you a question. You said making phone calls and following up are the biggest thing. Is that your biggest challenge, or is that your biggest thing you are doing?
Well, no, it was not the biggest thing I was doing. I think the door knocking was the biggest thing I was doing. So I guess I could say it was a challenge. I
Is it
know
my
that's
connection?
what I should be doing though.
Okay.
Actually getting the people to call is the biggest challenge for me, like finding those people, I guess.
Okay, so do you all have a set schedule when you lead generate? Because that's the biggest challenge, I believe, for most people. When do you lead generate? When do you ladies lead generate?
9 to 12:30.
9 to 12:30. Are you consistent in doing that every day?
No. So like if I
Okay.
have somebody under contract, or if I have mostly buyers right now, I haven't had any listings, but if I have buyers, then I just get busy with doing them basically, whatever it is, documents, showings. I don't adhere to anything. So whatever comes up, that's where I'm.
Okay, so that's part of your challenge. What about you, Deirdre? What kind of schedule do you have?
I start at 9. This week, well, last 2 weeks we've been doing script practice through the office. So I made sure I do that. I listen to James Shaw, and then I start script practice, and then I start at 9. And so my goal is the DTD2, and I'm not able to meet that 20 yet. I can only get about 10. And I'm working it all day. My plan is to stop at noon, but I'll still be at it in the afternoon, 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock.
Getting those 20 conversations.
Trying to.
You're not the only one. I have that struggle as well. One day it took me till 4 o'clock, and I was like, oh my gosh. So it is a challenge. You are not alone. Lead generating is difficult, but it's incredibly simple. You just have to do it. So I want y'all, and I do lead generating at a semi-high level. There are some who do it way better than me and at a higher level, and I still struggle with it. Do you all have, when you sit down to lead generate, first thing you need to have is what my coach calls, and they say it in the Keller Williams world, is a bunker. So it has to be somewhere where you are not distracted. I tell my staff every day, don't call me, don't text me, don't ask me nothing between those hours, and they still do it. They knock on my door, and I'm like, what? What part of don't call me, don't text me during that time? Don't get it. And Trish be like, but mama, no. So shut the door. I have a sign. Let me go get my sign. Now, are you guys all lead generating from home? So do you even need a sign on your door?
I do both home and office. I go in one of those locker rooms and lock up.
Okay, so I probably don't even, I'll show you my sign. Some of you have probably seen the sign on my door. My coach had one of my assistants a few years ago write this up. So if you've been there by my office and you come between pretty much 9 and 12, somewhere in those hours, you're gonna see the sign. And it says, stop, do not disturb. I'm lead generating, I'm making calls, I am making money. When I prospect with focus, I earn $17 a minute. Should you interrupt me, please have cash in hand to pay for the minutes you need. And my coach figured out that I roughly make about $17 a minute when I lead generate. So I turn the sign around, and there are a few people who ignore it. And I've told Treasure and Christine, you see somebody come knock on my door during that time, you have my permission to stop them. So you have to create that time. And I would recommend, do you guys use a digital calendar or a paper calendar?
Digital.
I use both.
I use both too.
I would, I used to use a paper calendar, and I can show you what it looked like when I did actually use a paper one. So I don't use a paper one now because I need for them to have access to my calendar, even if I'm not here. So this is my calendar from 2016. And my schedule hasn't changed much since then. So the blue spot up top, can you see it? The blue spot up top was my 30 minutes that I used to meditate, and I would read this little book and some spiritual stuff. And I would start that at 8:30, and I've just gotten away from that. I don't do it as often. But the green is marked out throughout this book, throughout the months and the weeks for that year, because I take lead generating incredibly seriously. So that's the only way we're all gonna make money, period. You know, I sell a lot of houses, I list a lot of properties. It's not because people come banging down my door talking about, oh, Sheri, you so cute, you so funny, we want you to sell our house. That's not it. It is primarily It is primarily from me lead generating. So my goal every day is to come in and make those phone calls come hell or high water. I don't schedule appointments for closings between those hours. I don't schedule doctor's appointments. When I did go get my hair done, I didn't go get my hair done between those hours. I would go get my hair done later on in the afternoon or maybe on a
You went, there you go.
time. I do it myself. One of the things that I found very helpful is years ago, I read one of these books they told us to read. Have you all heard about the 66-day challenge?
Yeah.
So 66 days it takes to create a habit. It takes 21 days to break a habit, and it takes 66 days to create a habit. So if you look at this calendar, can you see that calendar on the wall? No. Wait, where's the calendar? There's the calendar. So I started my 66-day challenge on May 14th, right when we were in the throes of being quarantined. And I started coming in here when everyone was still home. When they had the office closed for a little bit, and then they opened it back up. And I left. I let Treasure and Christine work from home. So I started my 66 days, which was May 11th. And August 11th became my last day of that 66-day challenge. And my challenge was to get into the office before 8 o'clock, because I usually would get here like 8:40, 7:45, 9 o'clock. I made that commitment to get into the office before 8 so I could do what I needed to do for 30 minutes before everyone got here and start making my calls. And it worked. So real estate is a 90-day cycle, sometimes a little bit longer, sometimes a little bit shorter. But in July, I had one of my best months ever. And I've been selling real estate for 22 years. In July, my team did over 2 million. And I got up on the board with Scott Davison and Carlos and John Durham. And I know that was from lead generating. Because a lot of people were like, oh, we're not going to call anybody, COVID this, COVID that. Y'all, if you're not taking advantage of this market, COVID has created one hell of a market for sellers. Everything that we put on the market is selling quickly, it's selling above asking price. That's the conversation I'm having with people. Every person I talk to, I tell them, oh my gosh, they're like, when I talk to you, oh, I don't want to put my house on the market, COVID this, and I'm like, wait. Do you realize that COVID has created a seller's market? There are a ton of people who are afraid to put their homes on the market. And to those of you who are brave enough to put your home on the market, you will probably get an offer within the first few days. And you may get multiple offers above asking price. If your house is not under contract within the first 30 days, that's an indication you are overpriced, period. Because everything, except, if you're like 600-700, of course. But just about everything under that 450 or that 400 price range is selling. So that's the conversation I'm having with everyone, whether it is at the grocery store. Lead generating leads to other things besides selling houses. I lead generate everywhere I go, everywhere, grocery store, doctor's office, wherever I go. And I lead generated with a guy at Publix, and I call him maybe 2 or 3 times a year. He's a manager, but now that I call him, when I want something, guess what? He gets it for me. When I needed toilet paper, he was like, the truck come in on this day, call me, and you come up to my office, and I got some toilet paper not hidden, in my office for you. Same thing 2 weeks ago, I needed Lysol and wipes. I called him. Hey, anybody needs to buy sell a house? No, not yet, Sheri. You still think about getting your real estate license? No, not yet, Sheri. Hey, by the way, when your truck come in, can you call me if you got some Lysol and wipes? He sure did. I had to go all the way tomorrow, but I went and got my Lysol and wipes. Lead generating, get you all kind of things. So do you guys lead generate outside of making phone calls? What are your other options besides phone calls and door knocking? And who else is on the call? Let's see. I got Chris, I got Tiffany, Tiffany and Chris, what do you all do for lead generating?
A lot of what I'm doing right now is going through my entire Facebook, because what I realized is, since I'm still fairly new in the business, there's some people in my sphere that don't know that I'm in real estate. So I am going through every single person and direct messaging them, you know, now kind of as a care call, but also dropping in real estate there. That's the majority of my lead generation is through social media.
Okay, so when you have a conversation with them, what do you do as a follow-up? Are you conversating with them via text on Facebook, or are you calling them and doing video calls on Facebook?
I'm DMing them through text, and then when I'm starting to get responses, then I basically have a form to where they can be entered into the database. So I could just shoot that off through Facebook Messenger, and just really working towards getting to the phone call.
Okay, so when they respond, you get their information and you put them in a database.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And okay, how about you, Tiffany? What are you doing to lead generate?
Here lately, I've been making care calls. So just checking in with people, because I'm kind of like with Chris, just kind of making sure, just checking in with people to keep in contact, as well as just making sure that they know I'm in the industry. And I have met one or two, well, I know one or two people that are probably going to be soon first-time home buyers, but they're not ready just yet. So I'm definitely just checking in with small talk, just conversation. And they're younger people, so just try to encourage them to stay on the path, but just trying to stay in contact with people at this point.
Okay, is there anyone else that's on here that is doing anything different besides social media, making phone calls and door knocking? No? Okay. So let's go back to
I was
making
gonna say I do open houses occasionally, but I'm not consistent with that. Like, it's not like I do an open house every weekend or anything like that.
So are any of you on a consistent daily schedule to lead generate?
Not really.
Deirdre, what are you doing? Am I saying your name right?
Yeah.
Is it Deirdre or Deidre?
It's Deidre. My
Okay.
dad say, but a lot of people call me Deidre. And it's
Okay,
either
it is
one is fine.
Okay, Deirdre, okay. So what are you doing?
Of course, I call my sphere and do care calls. I'm doing circle prospecting and fizz bowls. But I'm also doing the direct messenger that Chris is doing. But I didn't even consider that as lead gen, because I'll take my goal is I got a lot of Facebook people, so my goal is 10 a day, and I take the same message and I shoot them 10. And it takes me less than 3 minutes. So I never really considered that as lead gen, but now that
Are they responding to you?
absolutely they are.
Okay, so as long as they're responding, that's considered lead generation. But what I want you to do is get more information. So you send that message, they respond. What are their responses typically?
Hi, Deidre. Thank you for reaching out. That's very kind for you to reach out and think of us. And by the way, I'll be looking for a house in 3 months. Some people say a year, or something like that. But I never thought about getting something to just shoot it to my database so that that I can follow up. I never thought about that until Chris said it.
But what I want you to do differently is say, hey, I want you to be in my database. What is your mailing address and what's your email address? And that way you can send them something directly to them. Because let's say they decide they get off Facebook, they get mad at Facebook, they won't be on Facebook no more. They're gonna forget about you.
Mm-hmm.
So I would
I say yes, and then brush your teeth. We gotta leave. And
May, you got your microphone on.
Sorry.
And so I would tell them, yep, go brush your teeth, boo. And so I would start asking them questions. I would start asking them, may I have your mailing address? I want to keep you posted what's going on in the market. May I have your email address? We sometimes have great things at our office. We do volunteer work. We do giveaways. before COVID, we would have movie night. We've had wine and cheese. I would love to keep you posted on what's going on in our office. Sometimes we have movie nights for kids. We're not doing none of that now, but you want to figure out a way to get their information so
Okay.
you can put them in either whatever CRM that you guys use that you can constantly reach out to them. I had a guy call me last week and say, hey, Sheri, my name is so-and-so. I don't even remember his name. He's my client now. My name is so-and-so. I bought the house on Pebble Brook a few years ago. He wasn't my client, but I got his email address. I don't even know how I got his email address, but, and I've added my clients to my database, even if it wasn't my client. If it's my listing, you are going to get something from me moving forward if you purchase my listing. And he called me to say, it's been a few years, I want to rent my house out. He didn't realize that the house he paid $154,000 for 4 years ago is now worth $230 something. So he was floored that he's going to walk away with like 60, 70, 80 grand, somewhere around there. I forget how much it is. But I would have never gotten that listing had I not put him in my database. So just because, for those of you who are working with listings, I would recommend that you get that buyer's name. When I get my settlement statement and my check at closing, that settlement statement goes to Treasure. And Treasure takes my client, who is typically the seller, and puts them in my database as a past client. And then she goes in and takes the new buyer and puts their name and the address of the listing I just sold, and that goes in my database. Those are called, that guy is called an orphan agent. I bet you his agent has not been reaching out to him for the last 4 years. And I asked him, why did you call me? He said, because you always send me stuff. I didn't even remember he was in my database, but that's a new listing that just went on the market yesterday. So, you know, one of the things that I heard another agent do is, and you know, he ain't never got in trouble for it. When you're at a closing, offer to be the one to go take the license and go make a copy, especially if you have access to the copying machine. And this agent, he's retired now, he would be the one to go make the copies of the driver's license. And then he would keep a copy of it himself. So he would have the seller, if the seller moved out of town or something, he would have their forward and address. But most of the time, the settlement statement is going to have the seller's forward and address. So that is another way that you could build your database and have two clients for one. That house on Pebblebrook, I still stay in touch with the seller. He don't never answer my calls, but I still call him a few times a year. But I'm selling his house again because the new owner wants to sell it. That is another way you can build your database or generate. Go ahead. Someone's gonna ask me a question? No? Okay. So you also can lead generate, y'all still going out to get your nails done? Jennifer's like, yeah. I've been doing my own nails and my own feet since we've been quarantined. And as long as I put my glasses on, I do a pretty daggone good job. And they've got so long that I had to cut my nails the other day. So I probably will go back, but that is a great source for me to lead generate. If you've been in my class before, you have heard me talk about how I have made some deals at the nail salon. And it's usually not, in their face, my name is Sheri Pettus, do you want to buy or sell a house? It is very casual. You can have a lot of conversations sitting next to someone for an hour. You can find out an awful lot about them. And so when I have these conversations, I don't remember a whole lot because I partied way too much in college, so I forget a lot of stuff. So I have to write things down. I partied a lot in college, a lot.
I could imagine. Yeah, I know.
I did. It was the best
Me
4
too,
years of my
Sheri. Is
life.
that what that is? I was
Yep.
wondering why I couldn't remember.
Girl, it was them 4 years. I was a Zeta for my. I pledged a sorority my sophomore year in college. And from that point on, it was on and popping. We would travel we'd go to different states. It was 9 of us that used to fit in this little bitty car. We looked like clowns getting out of a taxi cab. But so I have to have my phone. So if I'm talking to someone during that conversation, I'm going to get their first name, their last name, probably where they live. And I'm going to be in my phone taking notes so I can remember when I get back to the office. And it's as simple as, you know, I've told this story before. I had a couple at the nail salon, and they were her and her husband. And during that course of that conversation, you know, she was like, oh, my name is whatever her name is. She's still on my database, Ursula. And I'm talking and I shake her hand. Oh, okay. And she introduced me to her husband. But I'm like, what's your last name? You know, you look so familiar. I'm a good bullshitter, y'all. Excuse my French. My grandfather I was the only grandchild growing up until I was 19. And my grandfather used to always tell me, "You such a good BSer." And I never knew what that was growing up as a kid. But I was convincing him to give me his bacon. So I was always begging for bacon when I was a kid. And I would hustle my grandparents for their bacon on their plate, everybody in the family. So he always called me a good BSer. So I will tell a person, you look so familiar. Where do we know each other from? So I'm trying to figure out how I can continue to make a connection with them. So when they say, oh, you know, I tell them, you look so familiar. What's your last name? And people will tell you. So I wrote down her first name, her husband's last name. Their names, their last name. And I'm like, where do I know you from? Where do you live? Oh, I live in McDonough. Oh, well, where about? Well, you know, because I sell houses all over. I probably sold a house in your neighborhood. What street do you live on? And she told me. So I went back to the office and I pulled up the tax records and I found her and her husband in the tax records, send them a handwritten note card. So I have a ton of these little handwritten note cards that you get from Dollar General. Last week, I went in and bought 50 packs. I bought all of the ones that said thank you. I either like the ones that say thank you and they're blank on the inside, or ones that have nothing and then they are blank on the inside. And what I do is I give them the treasure. One of my daughters is starting to work here next. I got 2 people starting in the next few weeks, but one of my other children is coming to work for me next week. And nice. So it's a blessing to be able to employ your kids and like really put them on payroll.
Yes, indeed.
And so this is going to be one of her jobs, but we get the blank ones and Treasure writes in them, you know, thank you for taking my call or whatever you wanted to say, but I will have her write up several of them at a time so that I can send them out when I'm ready. I just have to address them. I have my stamp and our address here at the office. I don't put Keller Williams because I want them just to see my name and open it, because most of the time they're going to think this is an invitation to a party or a baby shower or something. But when I finished that nail salon, I came back here and I got one of these note cards and I wrote in it, "It was so nice to meet you at the nail salon." You always want to remind folks where you met them. So I wrote in my little note card, "It was nice to meet you at the nail salon. If you ever need my help buying or selling a house, let me know." I didn't hear from her for like 2 months. And about 2 months after that, I get an email. "Hey, Sheri, my name is Ursula. We met at the nail salon." Was that what I didn't tell you that was that my mom had passed away and I inherited her house. And because I used to be a real estate agent, and she told me this at the nail salon, she was an agent for years. And I remember she was, they were part of Prudential and they were called the Cousins team. And they were 2 cousins and they were some bad chicks back in the day. And so in that email, she said, "I didn't know who to pick as a real estate agent because I have so many friends who are still realtors and I didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I'm going to go with you, a total stranger, because you sent me that handwritten note card." And she said, "Me and my cousin back in the day, we were big advocates for sending out handwritten note cards. And because you sent one to me, would you like to list my house?" That was a $200 and something thousand house over in Windsong. And it closed in 2 weeks and we had a cash buyer. All from having that conversation in the
Yeah.
nail salon and skillfully. And you know, it's not like you take a class. You just gotta, I have the gift of gab. People have been telling me that my whole life, and you just gotta practice at it. So what
Yeah.
if they don't give you all their information? I've had agents say, well, I don't want to intrude, or I feel like I'm asking too many questions. They'll let you know when you're asking too many questions, they're going to stop answering, or they're going to tell you you're asking too many questions.
No, or I'll give me your number or whatever, or I'll call you or something.
A lot of times I will pull out my phone and ask them to be Facebook friends with me. For me, I think people are too embarrassed to say, no, I don't want to be your Facebook friend. So I will pull out my phone while I'm talking to them and say, oh, let's be Facebook friends. What's your name? And I'll pull them up. Oh, is that you? And I'm looking, I'm like, oh, you're so cute. Oh, your dog is so cute. Oh, your grandbaby, whoever. You so cute. You so smart. You
It's
so
called choosing.
called bullshitting again. As my grandfather say, call BSing again. But it works, y'all. It works. And they, most of the time, I will have them pull out their phone and accept my friend request there. I have sold probably this year alone. Matter of fact, my buyer's agent right now, Katrina, is up front with someone from Facebook. A friend of mine that I haven't seen, Tracy. My friend Paula died in 2009. I saw her then. But prior to that, so that's 11 years. I've seen Tracy probably twice in the past 20 years, but we're Facebook friends. She reached out to me last week and said, I think I'm ready. I've been in an apartment my whole life. I think I'm ready to buy a house. I put her in touch with the loan officer and she got approved for $215,000. Katrina is up there they're probably gone by now. But as we speak, they're up in one of those conference rooms, going over buyer brokerage agreement. She got a list of printouts, and I have explained to these buyers, this is one of the ways you can get buyers off the fence too. I've explained to these buyers that this is not the time. You see a house that you want. Katrina has a blank contract with her. Tracy already has her earnest money. And so my conversation with these buyers nowadays are, this is not the time for you to think about it. If you like a house, you need to be prepared to write an offer right then and there. You ain't got time to go home and sleep on it. And you can pray on it, but you calling your mama, calling your pastor, you want all these folks involved in this decision, you will lose that house. So if you are working with buyers and you feel like you're being run around, you need to explain to them and tell them that this is a seller's market, and a perfect contract for a seller is full price with no closing costs. This is not the time to lowball. This is not the time to write anything but a full price offer if you're serious about that house. And in many cases, you know, they got to go over asking price. But that conversation was had, and Tracy walked in here today, and I said, you know, there's a possibility you might find your house today. If you find the house today, are you ready to write an offer? And she said, yeah, she's like, okay, sure. You got to train your clients. But Facebook is a great way. Are all of you using Facebook to lead generate in one way or another? Are you at least posting something about real estate every day?
I got a question for you. So
Yeah.
I've been doing Facebook for, you know about how long I've been there. I've been like boost posting, and some of them I'll get, like the last one I did yesterday or 2 days ago, I got over 2,000 people that it says reach. And I don't see how, I mean, there's no way to connect to the people that it just actually reached unless these people are liking and making a comment. So I don't know if that is really working for me. And I posted about the interest rates, the low interest rates right now, and what I actually was told by a lender, the two different lock-ins that they did at what the credit score was and what the rate was, and it was amazing. And so I wrote a whole blurb about it, and I boosted the post, and you know, the claimant reached all these people, and I do like anywhere from $5 to $10 budget, because it reaches, that tells you X amount of people it reaches. So one person responded and said, some young lady responded and said, oh, I heard it was 1%. And I said, well, my response to her was, well, what lender, where did you hear, and what lender was it, blah, blah, blah. And then she just responded back yesterday that she heard it on television.
Well, what I would do with that one is say, well, I would ask her, is she interested in purchasing a house? And then I would get her email address and see if you can get her mailing address because you want to mail her some information. I stopped boosting my posts on Facebook because of pretty much the same reason, because it reaches all these people, so I can't respond to them. What you want to do is a call to action. If you do a post, you want people to say, you know, let me tell you don't tell them what the interest rate is. Let me tell you what the interest rate. Are you curious to see, you know, how much house you qualify for? And put your number in the post and have them call you.
I definitely put my number. I put the website, you know, and
you just got to keep doing it. It doesn't work all the time. You just have to do it consistently. And,
that's what I've been doing all over, you know, a year, different times. And, you know, sometimes I'll get, I'll have multiple ones out there and I'll get, you know, some responses, maybe, you know, a couple of times, but as opposed to, well, I want to hire you to list my house, you know, I'm ready to buy a house or whatever, you know what I'm saying? There's no definitive, you know, response.
So that's where in MREA, where it comes back red light, green light. So that for me would be a red light. If you're not getting, I mean, you could still possibly get something. You're not spending a lot of money, but I would focus my time more on having one-on-one conversations with people. And if that means, you know, joining some clubs virtually, or, you know, I get a lot of response from the Woodland community, my kids' school. So if you have kids in school, even though kids aren't in school, I continually say, that is a great way to get your name out there. Start volunteering at these schools. When we did the book bag drive, we dropped them off to 3 different schools, got those book bags that we stuffed. And the school district that the school that my kids used to go to is one of them. And the principal sent me a message last week and said, hey, we're giving out book bags. Do you want to come help? Hell yeah, I want to go help. So I go to the school and I help give out book bags. And what I also did was, I have a foundation that I created. So every time I have a closing, 10% of my commission goes into this foundation. So I took money out and I bought gas cards for 50 of the parents, and the gas cards had my business card attached. So they got a book bag, they got a gas card. Now, it's taken me a minute before I could give away 50 gas cards. So I'm not saying run out there and go buy gas cards for everyone, but I would absolutely have a conversation with the schools that your children go to, or your grandchildren, or even the school that is closest to you, and build a relationship with those teachers. That principal, when those parents came up and got the book bag, the principal, and y'all can see it on my Facebook. We did a video. When the parents came up, the principal gave the kids a lollipop. Treasure gave them the book bag. Me and Treasure gave them the book bag, and we gave them gas cards. But every conversation was, my name is Sheri Pettus. Here's a gas card for you, Mom or Dad, if you know anybody needs to buy or sell a house. And Mr. Thomas, who is the principal, says, she sold my house. And I did. I sold his house, and I sold some other folks who work in that school district. The school districts, even though school isn't in session, it is a great way to network. And you could just do volunteer work. Now that them snotty-nosed kids ain't at school, I would probably go up to the school, if, you know, even if it's once a week, once a month, and call the principal and say, hey, I've got some spare time. What do you need me to help you do? And build relationships with those teachers and those administrators at your kid's school. When I tell you, almost all of those parents know who Sheri Pettus is at the high school, and not so much the middle school they do, but I don't have kids in middle school. I don't have kids in elementary, but the middle school ain't on Facebook like the other two are. But all of those administrators that are up at that office, and a good portion of those teachers, know who Sheri Pettus is, because over the last few years, I have interacted with them. I bring them coffee. I don't go to PTAs, but you know, we've done mock trials, we've done not mock trials, we've done mock interviews, we've done career day. That is a huge benefit. And I can't tell you how much I've made a lot of money from being active at the schools. And again, I'm active at the elementary school. My youngest kid is 16. She's in the 11th grade. I haven't had a student in elementary school in years, but they still know me. And they posted that video. Huh?
Yeah, because you were present during,
Right. And so
all those years.
that is another way that you can be involved in lead generate. I've lead generate at the grocery store when I am standing in line. Let's say I don't have a lot of things. Let's say I do have a lot of things. I've done this before. I've had a basket full of groceries and someone comes up behind me and they only have 1 or 2 items. I'm gonna let them go in front of me, but we're gonna talk about real estate while you ringing up your few items. And my response is usually, "Oh, you can go in front of me. I don't have a whole lot to do this afternoon. I'm not showing any houses today." And they usually go, "Oh, you're a real estate agent?" And if they just say, "Oh, thank you," I'm like, "Oh, you're welcome." And in the back of my mind, I'm like, you just heard me say I sell real estate, right? So I'm going to keep talking. And at the end of that conversation, I'm probably going to pull out my Facebook and get their information. Or there's a lady, I remember one time I was in a grocery store and I got her name and what subdivision she lived in. And I could tell she didn't want to give me her address, because when I asked her, she was like, "Oh, it's in McDonough." And I was like, "Oh, whereabouts in McDonough?" "Oh, off of Jodico Road." "Okay, what neighborhood?" And she ended up telling me the subdivision. Come back here and I find her. She's in my database moving forward. You can lead generate. Y'all hear me say it over and over again, anywhere you are. Not too long ago, my daughter got pulled over because the registration on her car was expired. The car is in my name. I forgot I bought her a car. Like, I'm used to just registering one car in September, and I completely forgot that I had to register Trinity's car. So she got a ticket. And she was, still in school. So I went to court on her behalf. And, the judge was like, "Do you want to dispute it?" And I'm looking at all them people. I was like, "Nah, I'm just going to pay that $100. But the cashier who is at the courthouse, I've been to her house twice on a listing appointment. She ain't ready yet. Let me take that back. I went last week to see her house. I've been talking to this lady for almost a year. She just gonna tell me last week her niece sell real estate for Better Homes and Gardens. She might be mad if she lists with me. You could have told me that a long time ago. I have been talking to this woman since my birthday's in September, y'all. I've been talking to this lady since like October, probably.
Yeah,
I've been to her house twice, and you're just now telling me. So moving forward, my conversations now, when I'm on a listing appointment or I'm lead generating, do you have any family members that are in real estate? I want to know that up front. I've never asked that question before. That's going to be part of my script. Do you have any family members that are in real estate that may be upset if you sell your house with me?
And I find that people will tell me that. I've had several people tell me that as I'm, giving them my blurb, and "Oh yeah, my nephew, my niece, or my aunt, somebody sells." So they usually say that up front. I mean,
well,
that's
she didn't.
my experience.
I've probably talked to this woman probably 7 or 8 times.
That's
probably
ridiculous.
Once a month. And and I know her niece. She's a top producing agent. I know her niece. I can't even get mad. I was like, "Oh, her niece knows what she's doing."
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I mean, she should tell you that right away. So
well, she probably didn't even think about it. It's her niece by marriage. So, it's not like it's her sister's kid, but it's still her niece by marriage. And she feels like whoever would be upset if she didn't use
obligated to work
but that is part of my pre-qualification now when I talk to sellers about listing their house. Do you have any family members in real estate? So I absolutely could have saved myself a lot of time. So what else do you guys want to talk about? You guys want to pick my brain and ask me some questions?
I have a question, because a lot of what I am doing just with my current lead generations is very buyer heavy, and just with the people I'm reaching out to are a lot of the similar age, and so it's a lot of first time home buyers. but I do know from reading the Red Book and just listening and my time at Keller Williams, if I don't have listings, then it's going to really affect my ability to grow or really have a sustainable business. So
or social life.
Yeah. Something's going to suffer for sure, if not all three. So kind of, I guess, if you were in my shoes, what would you suggest of a route to just target listings?
Pick a neighborhood that you like. Pick a neighborhood that is where most of the sellers have been there 5 to 10 years and they are ready to move. You could, and this is just coming from, again, I'm just being straight up. You could pick a neighborhood, and maybe this is politically incorrect, but pick a neighborhood that used to be all white that ain't no more. and we all know that there are neighborhoods that when it gets to a certain percentage of African Americans or foreigners or minorities, that the white folks who've been there originally are moving fast, quick, in a hurry. You could probably, all of you could probably identify a neighborhood where it's changing. Now, you can't tell them that. You can't scare them into selling their house. You can't have any type of conversation like that, but you could definitely do your research where you see that they've been there a long time and that they're moving. There's a neighborhood where my mother lives. My mother's neighborhood is still, it used to be predominantly Caucasian, and it's not anymore. And I see them on Facebook all the time, particularly those are Caucasian. They don't ever say it, but they're, oh, I got to move. This neighborhood is going downhill, or I got this, that, and other. And it could be a variety of reasons. However, we all know that that's what happens. And so you could find a neighborhood where the demographics are changing, and you start, and they've been there 5 to 10 years. I would pick a neighborhood based on your budget. So the MREA says you should use how much of your GCI for advertising? What, 10% maybe?
I think it's 10.
I think it's 10%. I don't always do that. Like I had a really good month, and my GCI for July was like over 40 grand. I am not spending $4,000 on a mail out. I'm not doing that. But what I did do is I spent $1,500 on the community that I always send them stuff. So I'll just send them something more. I'll send them something went out yesterday. I'll probably send them something again in 10 days. Instead of expanding my farm, I'm gonna really hit them hard. And it is the Woodland School District. Treasure goes through command. She creates a postcard, goes through command, and command will allow you to set your parameters. And it'll allow you to pick the last time the house sold. It'll allow you to pick how old the house is. It'll allow you to pick the price point. So I pick homes that are, built like back to like 1990, I think it is. And then we also pick the last time that house was sold, the last 5 to 10 years, something like that. And you can look at the map and expand your map to include where you want. And so I hit that Woodland School District hard because Woodland, let me look at something real quick. And if I look into, I'm looking in MLS, I think in that school district last year, there was like 300 homes sold in the Woodland School District last year. And the perception is that Sheri Pettus sells all the houses in Woodland. Everybody said, oh, call Sheri Pettus, she sold all them houses in Woodland. Y'all know how many houses I sold in Woodland last year?
How many?
Like 3.
Really? I don't think you sell all the houses in Woodland District.
Right. You know what?
I'm not going over there. That's Sheri's area.
Look, it could be a little bit. I'm probably exaggerating. You know what? It was more than 3, but there were. Let me see how many were sold in that school district. It was, nowhere in comparison to what I should have sold and what the perception is. The perception is that I sell all the houses. Now, what is true is that there are a lot of people in that school district who know me. And so they think that I sell all the houses, but they just see me posting. They see me at the school. They see me doing different things for the different schools, and I'm there. So,
Where's the Woodland School District?
I'm sorry,
Where is the Woodland School District?
it's in Henry County. It's,
In the Stockbridge area, or?
yep, it's in Stockbridge, part of the school. The school has Stockbridge and McDonough, students.
Oh, okay.
So last year, I'm gonna look just real quick. I was kind of want to see what has sold in the Woodland School District this year. Close date. There are,
You know, Sheri, how do you find that?
I'm in MLS, I'm in Paragon.
Okay.
So if you go in Paragon and I'm putting the status as sold, I'm putting the area as 211. I put the high school Woodland, and I put close date January 1st to today. There were 217 homes sold in the Woodland School District so far. I ain't sold not near close to a high percentage, but the perception is that I do. Perception is a lot. So pick a school district that you guys, that you're close to. And my goal is to have Woodland on lockdown. And so, you know, when you start doing stuff like, even the principal knows, she had a teacher who was moving here, and she called me, she said, this teacher's thinking about buying a house. He's gonna be teaching here next year. Can you help him? Absolutely. Become friends with the principal and the vice principal. You know, invite them to your stuff. The vice principal last year came to my, no, year before last, when I had my big 50th birthday party, one of the principals at the high school came. I never in a million years thought she was gonna come. I sent her an invite and she showed up. So, you know, as that, my kids get a little perk. Like my daughter got her phone taken last year. And the principal called me. She said, you know, I ain't supposed to call you. You're supposed to come up here. But I'm going to call her up to my office. I'm just going to slip it to her. Tell her don't say nothing. So, but there were 217 homes sold in the Woodland. So give me another school district. Who is in, Chris, what's your school district where you live?
Oh, we just moved over to Jonesboro. But I was going to ask about that because my nephew goes to a private school. So his school district's a little bit different. How do you go about that when it's not a true geographical thing?
I mean, you still have a school district where you live. There's still public schools. And if you want to be more involved at Ryland School, I absolutely encourage you to do it. But what is the school district for, what high school is it where you live?
Jonesboro.
So that's Clayton County.
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at, what is it doing that? Hold on one second.
And then Chris, you can find the public school near the private school if you're trying to get those people in that area, I guess.
I would start, well, now that school ain't there. What is that, an unexpected? Okay, let's try this again because my computer's did somebody kick me out of Paragon? Oh, sorry. Huh? Give me 5 minutes and I'll be out. You can have it back.
Also, that same kind of thought process. My 10-year reunion for Fayette County is coming up next year. So would it be beneficial to just, I feel like I do still know some people, so maybe lean into that in that area?
I would start hitting them up now. I would start friend requesting all of them, sending them messages. Hey, how's it going? Chit-chatting with as many of them as possible. So when you get to the reunion, you have already established that you're the real estate expert in that class.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see something, Jonesboro. Clayton County, dates, criteria, closed. So in Jonesboro High, this year alone, Chris, there were 229 homes sold. Imagine if you just got 5% of that. That's 10. That's 10 additional. Start doing something. Y'all do your research and see how many homes have sold in your school district. I think it is a fabulous way to meet and network with people, even though school's not in session. Like I said earlier, you could go up there and volunteer your time, and you know, even if it's something as simple as, hey, I'll come up there when you guys disinfect and I'll help you guys do whatever, just so they start inviting you into their world. All right, who's next? Any other questions?
I know they said don't start off with the real estate stuff. You have to build, I guess, that relationship. So, but for those of us that are brand new, not working with a lot of budgets, not working with a lot of sphere, we realize that that's gonna, take time. What do you suggest in order to get transactions in, like, immediately? I guess I mean, when I say immediately, I mean thinking about 90 days in or whatever.
Stick to that schedule.
Okay.
Stick to that lead generating schedule. I promise you, it works.
Okay.
It works. When Brian said earlier on this year during this quarantine, y'all need to be paddling, like, I didn't hear nothing else. I ain't heard what John said, all those videos. I didn't hear what, I did hear Jason said it was time to be anti-racist and not just non-racist. I'm on the Southeast region in the office diversity board, so I've been listening to him a lot. But in the beginning of this quarantine, they addressed that issue after George Floyd was killed. And in that same, I think it was that same video, they talked about that. And Brian said that this is the time to paddle. And so I fully believe that if we keep going the way we're going and you hunker down and double down on that schedule of making those calls, your spring should be phenomenal. The beginning of the year should be great. A lot of people think that, oh, the holidays are coming up and that it's going to slow down. It only slows down if you slow down. The first time I ever sold $1 million in a month, over $1 million, was in the month of December, years ago. So that was eye-opening for me, because I've always heard, oh, it slows down, it's the holidays, people ain't buying houses during the holidays. Yes, they do, because there's a lot of people who want to get into their new house and show off for the holidays. They want to show off their new house for Christmas, Thanksgiving, and New Year's. So that was a turning point for me. And, dispelling that mindset and that limiting belief that nobody sells houses during the holidays. So I would immediately, you all, get that phone out and start making those phone calls. And then after you make those phone calls for 2.5, 3 hours, and if you don't have nothing else to do, get out in the street. I hear people say, oh, Sheri's down at the end of the hall in that big office with the windows, and, she's selling this and she go home at 3 o'clock. I have done everything I've told y'all to do. I have door knocked. I have sat outside and given away flyers in Publix parking lot and Walmart parking lot. I have been chased out of parking lots and told, you can't give out your flyers. What I've learned about that is you give the buyer, the folks who are coming in and out of the stores, the customers, you give them your information on their way to the car. Don't give it to them on the way inside, because they're either going to throw it away or they're going to go tell on you. It is very unlikely. They'll go and be like, that lady's outside giving out flyers, like this little old lady. You ain't had nothing else to do but go tell on me. So right, that manager came out. That was a learning lesson. Give whatever you're going to give out in the parking lot, give it out on their way to their car, because they're not going to throw it away in front of you. They're going to put it inside their car, and they're not going to turn around and go tell. And they're probably not going to go home and call the store and say Jennifer Means is giving out flyers in the public parking lot. I have done all of that. I have gone to police stations and walked into police stations and given out my information. I have gone to the fire departments, firehouses, and given out my information. Hell, I even walked into Burger King one time and was like, excuse me, does anybody want to buy or sell a house? I have done it all. A little bit of everything, figure out, I would pick 3 things. My coach, and I'm going to respect everybody's time. This was an hour class, it's 2 o'clock. So I know if you need to log out, that's fine. This will be my last point. My coach last year had me, is it in this book? It's not in this book. Had me write down 3 pools. She had me write down 3 little pools, like you swim in a pool. And she would ask me every week, did you swim in all 3 of your pools? And all 3 of my pools were, she broke it down to, my big pool is like Olympic size pool for, that they do the Olympics. That's my big pool. My medium pool is like a giant pool at, the golf club, or, over in Eagles Landing, a real big, nice, fancy pool. And then my small pool was my little above ground swimming pool in my backyard. And she would ask me, did you swim in all 3 pools? So my big giant pool for me is expired listings. That is where I get the majority of my business. Last year I listed 33 expired listings in addition to the other ones that I did. That's my big pool. That is my niche. I've been doing expired listings for over 10 years. My middle-sized pool is, it's been a minute since I looked at it. I wrote it down somewhere, but my middle-sized pool is my Woodland School District. And then my small pool in my backyard is me going to the grocery store, my database, my sphere of influence. So one of the ways, I heard you say, Deirdre, and earlier, that you're having a hard time getting those 20 contacts. If you break them down to those pools, you could do, 6 or 7 of each one, and then you got your 20. It took me a long time. I would spend all day calling expireds. And sometimes I wouldn't get 20 people. So I would get frustrated and be like, that messed up. I'm just going to keep going. So now I do my expired listings, my current expired listings. I do past expired listings, and I do my Woodland. Now, Woodland isn't necessarily me calling people at Woodland. It is me interacting on the school pages. So if I go to the school page and I see a post, like right now, they posted something about Chromebooks or laptops or something. I don't even really look at what they're posting. I'll like it. What I'm looking at is who else like that. So if I go to Woodland right now, if I go to the high school page and they'll post something, and let's say 30 people like that post, I'm going to go to all 30 of those people, and I'm going to go to each one of their Facebook page, and I'm going to like their most recent post. It takes a minute, but that's something you can do. I watch a lot of TV. So you can do that at 9 o'clock at night. You can do it at midnight. You can do it whenever. I go to each one of their pages and I like their most recent posts and I comment. And my comments are usually one words because I don't feel like talking a whole lot. My comments are usually cute, nice, beautiful, awesome, well done, congratulations, happy birthday. It is usually real quick. I just want them to see me commenting and liking their stuff so they keep remembering, oh, that's Sheri Pettus. That's right. When we gave out those book bags, y'all, I told y'all I partied too much in high school, in college, right? I had them parents like, hey, girl, how you doing? And I always have to do this. I don't have my glasses on. I can't see. Who's that? It's not because I can't see. It's because I don't know who the hell you are. Because I'm terrible with names and faces. So, one lady's like, it's me, Linda. And I was like, oh, girl, because you got your hair pulled up. I just said that. I was like, I don't know who she is. What you say?
Nothing. I was laughing at you.
So, so now, like, I'm looking at Miss Torres. Miss Torres is one of the Spanish teachers at the high school. I don't know who she is. I never met her. I am ashamed to say she was my daughter's Spanish teacher, and I didn't even know it. my kids be on their own now. They in high school. I'm like, I ain't got to learn all your teachers' name. You just tell them to email me when there's a problem. If you got a problem, I'll handle it. But she sent me a message. Hola, señorita. I want to buy. My husband and I want to buy and sell a house. And I'm like, fantastic. And I'm going to my daughter. Who's this? What's this? She's like, Mom, it's my Spanish teacher. I'm like, oh, hey, hola, señora. So I told you I'm a good BSer. But she sold a house and she bought a house. And it netted me about $15,000 from those 2 transactions. So I'm looking at the Woodland High School page now, and the same Spanish teacher made a post. Bunch of Bitmojis, her and her little crew, but there are 63 people that like that. And all 63 of those are either parents or administrators of Woodland. So I am going to go tonight while I'm watching TV, drinking my wine. I'm going to go to all 63 of those pages, and I'm just going to like whatever, as long as whatever they got ain't crazy. As long as I'm not liking nothing political, I'm not liking no nonsense. But if you got a picture of your dog or your kid or whatever that is neutral, I'm going to like it and I'm going to say something. And I keep doing that, and that is how I engage when I know it's Woodland. Now, I know you can do Facebook ads. Chris, my Facebook ads still ain't working. I don't know who to talk to, who to call, but I've kind of given up on the whole Facebook ad thing through command. But that is my way of reaching out. And the last thing I'm going to leave y'all with is you can ask your friends and your family on Facebook to help support you. I did a video 3 weeks ago, and I sat outside in the back, and Treasure recorded it. And I don't know if y'all seen it on my page, but I was begging. I was like, please, 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 if you know anybody needs to sell a house, please call me. I literally was begging. And then I went to all my friends' personal page, and I messaged them and said, hey, there's a video of me on my page begging for inventory. Can you reshare it? Do y'all know how many times that video was reshared? Take a guess. Almost
25.
Almost 200.
Wow.
That video was reshared almost 200 times. And as a result of it, it's been viewed over 5,200 times. It's approaching 5,300 views. And out of that, I got 2 listings. One was a past client that I probably talk to her once a year. And she called me and said, hey, Sheri, we saw that video. You didn't know Tony's mom has dementia. She's in a nursing home, and the house has been sitting vacant for a year. And Tony and I thought that now was a terrible time. And I'm like, no, honey, it is a great time. We put that house on the market. It's an old house built in the 70s, got wallpaper. It need a lot of work. That house went under contract in 3 days, full price. He said, I want 130. And I said, let's just put it on the market for 155 and see what happens. And if it appraises less, you'll sell it for less, right? He's like, yeah. That house went under contract full price, 155, no closing costs. They think I am fantastic because they saw that video. And then we had one more. I can't remember who the second person is, but I got 2 listings from that video. Don't be afraid to do something crazy and kind of, and I'm a crazy kind of out of the box, in your face, bold person. And that may not be y'all's personality. It works for me. But I would encourage you to step out of your comfort zone and do something that is a little bit outrageous for you and put it on Facebook. People pay attention. I did a video of myself dancing in my office like about 1.5 years ago, and I asked my friends to reshare it. That video has been viewed over 10,000 times. 10,000. Me dancing. It ain't like I'm not like Beyonce. Pop a little bit. It's just me and my I can't believe I did that. That looked terrible. But just have fun. This is
Sheri.
Yep.
This is Casey. I have a quick question.
Hey,
I
honey.
know you are so intentional, about making your phone calls every morning, and the majority of those phone calls are expired and for sale by owners, correct?
Mostly expired. I am doing for sale by owners. I started it, and this is so crazy because I did it 2 weeks ago, and the first person I talked to said, yeah, come over, and he signed a listing agreement. He wanted to sell his house for $214. He signed a listing agreement for $216, and we went under contract for $227. Now, what does that tell you? That I should call it for sale by owners every day, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I ain't did it since. My coach.
Don't worry, I'll start doing it. You ain't got to worry about it. I'll pick it up for you.
My coach is like, what is wrong with you? Why aren't you doing it? Because I usually complain about for sale by owners because I'm like, oh, they take too long. But then I got a listing yesterday and it's an expired, but I've been talking to him for over a year. So she fussed at me like, some of your expired, you've been communicating with them for 1 year, 2, 3 years. Why won't you go after for sale by owners? And I'm like, I don't know why. you know, and that was one call and it's under contract. You would think I'd be calling for sale by owners every day, right? All day. So I keep saying I'm gonna put it off. I keep saying I'm gonna do it. You got a question, Deirdre? So I'm sorry, Casey. So did I answer your question?
Yes, ma'am. I was just, because I know you're so intentional about your lead generation, and I know I'm trying to help some of the people who are newer about who to call. I think that's where a lot of them get hung up, is about who to call or what to do. Of course, I've got Chris on that same Facebook thing, because actually he had one of his best friends in high school that he was messaging his brother and then found out he was about to buy a house. But the dude didn't even know Chris was doing real estate, so that's what was going to kill him. So if we don't let everybody in our Facebook, I mean, I have people that I don't even know who they are on my Facebook, that I'm sending them the same message, which is just a care call. And hey, if you know anybody, if you ever have any questions about real estate, let me know. And I'm getting business that way.
Absolutely. And, you know, I hear a lot of people say, oh, I don't use Facebook that much. If you don't use Facebook, you are shooting yourself in the foot, because
True. And you got to get the information, because I made 3 sales. I did 3 transactions off of getting addresses. So I did a giveaway, a $25 gift certificate giveaway. And then I asked everybody to DM me their address, and I did a giveaway, and I got 3 transactions, but the people got off Facebook, like you said. And so then I still had them on my monthly mailer though.
Absolutely. That is fantastic, because millennials are the largest group of consumers for buying real estate right now. That is the largest population, and millennials communicate via social media. So if you aren't using social media, you are shooting yourself in the foot. Again, I'll say it again. And I believe that you should be posting something real estate related at least once or twice a day. But you also have to post personal stuff. Like y'all know me and my shoes. I do a shoe reveal. You know, when I get a new pair of shoes, and I open up a box of shoes, and within the first 2 hours, I got like 200 views. You know, so come up with your social media thing. My social media thing is, y'all, you know, I put up a few outfits, and I help I let my social media friends pick out my outfits. If I put an outfit last week, and I was like, okay, help me pick out the shoes, help me pick out the purse. Everybody knows that's my thing. I get like 40, 50 comments. And I used to think it was just women. It's men telling me wear that shoe with that purse and those earrings. And I think it's so funny. And so sometimes when I go out in public, someone will walk up. Like I was at a restaurant, and a girl said to me, she kept looking, she's sitting in her booth, she kept looking. And the hood chick in me, from where I grew up, in the back of my mind, like, hell, she looking at me? Why she keep looking at me? And then I have to remember, that's a good thing, Sheri. It's a good thing. And she reached over and said, did you find anything to wear with those blue boots? And I was like, oh, she's my Facebook friend. So, you know, I would recommend that you guys become incredibly active on social media. Get people to pay attention to what you're doing. And it can't be just real estate. It can't just be, you know, your dog and his outfit because he's cute. You got to do a little bit of everything. And you want to ask questions. One of the biggest responses I ever got on Facebook was, I put on there, what was the first concert you ever attended? I had like 60 or 70 responses of people telling me where their first concert was. I didn't even look at any of them. I just liked them all, but I want people to communicate with me and interact with me so that when they see my post, they recognize the name, or if they see me out in the street, they recognize. I did another one maybe a month ago. I did one a month ago and said, what was your first flight? Somebody, you know, somebody had did it and I just copied it, and it said, where was the first time you ever took a plane ride? My first time I ever took a plane, and I wrote this in my thing, my first plane ride was, I was 19, and I took a plane ride from Providence, Rhode Island to New York to eat at Hawaii Kai and watch Roger Rabbit. It was a date. What I forgot was that when I went on that date, it wasn't with my boyfriend. It was with somebody else. And the boyfriend that I actually had that I cheated on is my Facebook friend. And he screenshot it. He screenshot it and sent it to me. He was like, oh, so that's where you was. Because he remembers when I took off to New York to go see Roger Rabbit. He just found out then it was why I went. I was like, ooh. So, you know, you be a little careful. Be a little careful, but he sure did. He was like, oh, so that's where you went that time. I was like, ooh.
Tell them that's old news. That's old news.
Exactly. But have fun with it. This is selling real estate and joining Keller Williams was the best thing I've ever done for myself as a parent, as a woman, as you know, just for myself. It has changed the conversations that I have with my children about business. And for those of you who really know me, I just went through a divorce last year, and it was something I had been thinking about doing for years, but I never had enough money. I never had enough money where I could just take my kids and walk. And years ago, before all of that happened, I've been separate. Well, we divorced now, but I left 3 years ago. But about 5 years ago, my coach said to me, you know, lead generating can solve almost all of your problems. And I was like, what? Money solves a lot of our problems, y'all. It don't solve everything, but it absolutely allows you choices. And that was a turning moment for me when I realized lead generating could solve a lot of my problems. A lot of my problems. My problems with the IRS, my problems with having to get my daughter a car and running her around and doing softball and all of that. That was stressful. It alleviated, you know, me staying in a marriage that I really didn't want to stay in, but I stayed in it because I couldn't pay all of my bills myself. Because I make about 3 times as much as him now. But we still real good friends. We still real good friends. He put up the kids' trampoline the other day. But, you know, it was a light bulb moment for me that lead generating can solve an awful lot of my problems. And it has. It has. And I no longer wake up, you know, I would wake up in the middle of the night, wake up about 3 o'clock because I'm 51 years old and I got to go to the bathroom almost every night. And it would take me a while to go back to sleep because I was thinking about all the problems that I had that could be solved with money. And again, not everything can be solved with money, but a good portion. I mean, do y'all agree a good portion of whatever issues you got going on in life could be solved by money?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yep. And so, you know, lead generating changed a lot for me. It changed a lot. Changed where I live, changed how I travel, changed what I eat, changed the conversations I have with my children. It changes an awful lot. Reach out to those agents who sell more houses. When I first came to Keller Williams, I wanted to sell. My goal was 5 million. I was like, oh, I sell 5 million. I'm going to be a bad chick. And so, you know, my team did 2 million in the month of July. But I found someone who was at that level that I wanted to be at, and I invited them out to eat. And then when I got to the 5 million mark, I was like, okay, I'm going to take somebody out who's doing 10 million. And so, and when I got to the 10 million mark, my team last year did 10.8 million. If I keep going, not if, when I keep going the route I'm going, I should probably do about 15, maybe 16 million this year. However, so now who I want to talk to is different. Maybe about 2 months ago, Treasure and I went up to, we had our diversity unity group meeting, and there's an agent who does about 20 million. Her name is Domine. And I had asked around, who should I talk to? And Deb Nardi, who used to be the team leader here before Lindsay, said, you need to talk to Domine. So we took Domine out and had a conversation with her, because now I want to talk to her because she does 20 million. So when I get to that point, my next conversations are going to be with people who do 25 and 30 million. Find somebody who is where you want to be next year or in the next 2 years, and take them out to lunch. Take them out to lunch. Get somebody who is bigger and better in the real estate game than you, and pick their brain and see what they do. I don't believe in reinventing the wheel. When my coach tells me to do something, I just do it. I don't sit there and try to reevaluate and figure out why. I don't have time for that. My personality, I have a very high D. So my personality is bulletproof, like boom, boom, boom. This is what I'm doing. And I'm not going to try to figure out how to redo it. So I do listen to the people who sell more houses than me in this business, in this company. And I just listen to them. I ain't doing a whole lot of hemming and hollering and what if or what about. That's just not my style. I never have been that type of person. So you guys have any other questions for me? Yes, ma'am.
So I started out doing expires. I got so frustrated with them because I never could get anybody on the phone. But then I started doing physicals. I kind of like my physicals because they're a little bit nicer and they do answer. But how do you get people on the phone with expires? And then I know they said the fortune's in the follow-up, right? But how long do you follow up? And
You didn't just hear me say that one guy I listed yesterday. I've been talking to him for about a year and a half.
yeah, so you don't stop.
Sometimes I can call an expired listing and they tell me to come out that day. But most of the time it's follow-up. She's shaking her head like, no.
But then another thing is they're not always so nice.
So what? They mad because their house ain't sold.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they ain't not. And see, with the way my conversation, I almost always end up making them laugh. I am a kind of a jokester. I have sometimes a crude sense of humor. So, I have to watch myself what I say, but I almost always get them laughing on the phone with me. And most of the time, I sing to my client. I sing to them. And it is, they say, oh, what's your name? And I say, Sheri, like Sheri, baby. And they start cracking up. And I judge it. I can tell by how old they are. Now, if there's somebody 25, 30 years old, I'm not singing that song because they don't know what I'm talking about. But, some folks who are 40 years and older pretty much know that song. And I'll be honest. If I can tell if they are black or white on the phone, if they are somebody white, I'm going to sing that version. If it's somebody black, I'm going to sing My Sheri Amore. And they get it. They remember my name. Jennifer is cracking up. Hey, it is what it is. It is what it is, but it works. It works. Certain generations know the Frankie Valli version. Certain generations know the Stevie Wonder version. But by the end of that conversation, they all know my name is Sheri. Not Shirley, not Cheryl, not Sheri, not Shannon, Sheri. And many times, most of the time when I sing that to them, they sing along with me and they laugh. So come up with something that they will remember you by before you hang up that phone. Come up with something about yourself that makes you stand out from all the other agents that call. Because when I call expires, I ask them how many phone calls you get. And they tell me 6, 5, 4, 1, 7, all day, a gazillion. They're going to remember my name by the time they hang up that phone. And that's with any conversation, not just expired. If I'm out in the street lead generating, you're going to remember my name because I'm going to be in your face and I'm going to remind you. And I say my name multiple times during a conversation when I'm lead generating. Deirdre, I want you to smile. I want you to get some energy, get excited about this. She looking like, it ain't gonna work.
I don't know. I paid for them expires and they just didn't do me good. But I mean, it ain't over, so I may.
No, it's not. And there is plenty of them.
Sheri, what software do you use for your phone number?
Vulcan. It is Vulcan. The most expensive. But I've been with Vulcan for so long that my bill is probably not as expensive as if you were signing on right now.
What's that?
What's what?
Vulcan.
I think it gives you phone numbers. There's Vulcan, there's Mojo, there's Land Voice. There's a bunch of them that are not as expensive. Oh,
like Red X. Oh, okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a few of them that are not as expensive with Vulcan. I think right now Vulcan, to start Vulcan is like $350 a month.
So do you do the dialer? Dialer. You do the dialer? You don't do it yourself?
No, I use my phone and it'll allow you to click a bunch of numbers and it just keeps moving on to the next number.
Maybe I should do that then. I mean, me and Deidre was talking about this yesterday. I mean, I have Red X, or Circle Prospecting. I do the Geo, but I have to call all of them myself. So do they call the ones that say do not call, or do they
No,
skip
they
that?
don't. They don't call. It's me calling. Nobody calls for me. I call myself.
Oh, because
Mm-mm.
I heard of the ones where, you know, you can just push it and they'll keep calling whoever answers first. That's what I thought you was talking about.
No, so it goes by the address and the name, and it'll give me their phone numbers, and I'll just keep calling and click next, and click next.
But she's not
Oh, okay. I see what you're
dialing
saying.
the number. It's all automated.
Right, I'm not dialing individual numbers. I dial one number, and then if I check, you know, let's say I got 100 expired listings. If I check 25 of them, and then I dial the main number to Vulcan, then Vulcan is going to keep dialing those numbers until somebody answers. You get that?
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying. Do you, but you get to pick. So you just don't pick the ones that say do not call.
Yeah, I get to pick the
you even
ones
have
that
that
I
feature?
want. It does have the feature that you can get rid of the do not calls. So I don't use those. I call the ones that allows me to call, and I just keep calling.
So but you have the address, like, do you add that to your database, or, you know, in case you want to send out mailers and things like
If
that?
I speak to them, yes. If I speak to them, then they go into my database where they're going to get something from me. If I don't speak to them, I just keep going on to the next one. So
Okay.
Sorry. I got a quick question for you. So just based like on your routine, like how are you managing everything? Because I heard that we should have, say, our calendar up. We should have, I guess, our database up. So how, when you are making these calls and getting all this information in, do you stop right then, put it in your database? Like if you get an appointment, do you then go right to your calendar, put it in? Like how do you manage yourself?
it's a lot. And so what I will do is, remember I told you I have these pre-written note cards already. So Treasure writes these out, and this one says, are you aware that COVID-19 has created a seller's market? Let's talk about it today. Sheri Pettus, my phone number. So if I talk to them, this stack over here says, thank you for taking my call. We're the #1 selling company, blah, blah. Call me Sheri Pettus. If I talk to them, they get that one that says, thank you for taking my call. If I don't talk to them and it's one that I want, I'll send them this card. But what I do is, because they're already pre-printed, all I have to do is write the address on them, and then I have a stack of them here. So I give Treasure these stacks and say, put them in my database, because she knows these are the people that I talk to. So I'm going to give her this stack today. She'll put it in my database, and then it'll go out in the mail. And these are people that I actually had conversations with today. So did I make my 20 today? Nope. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Where's my clicker? What's 7 and 6? What's that, 13?
Mm-hmm.
So between now and tonight, I'm going to have 10 more conversations. But our conversations now can be on Facebook or social media. When I first came to Keller Williams, your contacts had to be a face-to-face, voice-to-voice conversation. They have now included social media. So between now and tonight, I'm going to have 7 more conversations on my couch with a glass of wine, watching Hulu or Netflix. I got a new Fire Stick. So I got my Fire Stick hooked. Look, ex-husband good for that too. He put that Fire Stick together for me. My kids are like, you just be using him. Oh, hey,
It was mutual.
What you say?
It's mutual.
Right, like he want to come see y'all. He want to come see me. He got to put that trampoline up. He got to connect that Fire Stick. And oh yeah, don't forget to hook up that Spectrum modem they sent me. But you know, lead generating got me to the point where I have my own place, and it stays clean, and it's a drama-free zone. And I, you know, of course, those first few days you sad, but after a while, I wake up and I'm like, ooh, this is all my side of the bed. That's my side of the bed. That's my side of the bed. So But lead generating did that, y'all. Lead generating fixed a lot of the issues in my life because of money. All right, it's 2:30. We are 30 minutes past our time. So do you guys have any last questions? I got to take my daughter to go buy a laptop. Nope.
No,
You've been awesome.
thank
Thank you so much.
Yes,
Well,
great
thank you,
information.
ladies.
Thank you.
Absolutely. If you have any questions, y'all know where I
Always.
am. Y'all can come hit me up. Just don't come knock on my door before 11:30, okay?
Bye.
Bring
Thank
your
you.
cash. $17 a minute.
I can't hear you anymore.
Bye.
Bye.